Well, welcome back to the final episode of the DCL podcast, and I'm pretty excited to have both our co-hosts.
Excuse me, in 2020.
Okay, all right.
No, you have to keep that.
No, yeah.
Everyone knows that you're a doomsday. This is the final episode of the DCL podcast. We have a very important announcement. We've ended it.
Well, welcome back to the final episode of 2020's DCL podcast. I'm pretty excited to have both our co-hosts here. Coming all the way live from her roving studio down in Florida, I'd like to welcome back to the show Christy Puttick from PackYourPixieDust.com. How are you doing today, Christy?
I am well. How are you, Steve?
Not too bad. And of course, down in Southern California, our Disneyland, Disney's California Adventure, Star Wars, and churro expert, Chris Bright.
Yes. Hello. I am a churro expert. I will own that, but I think that I have tough competition from Christy because she is a connoisseur of gluten-free churros, which I will happily try, Christy. Those pictures that you post of those churros make my stomach flutter.
They are amazing, and they're so fresh and so good. So yes, you have to try them. And I really want an opinion as to, you can't even be, can you be a connoisseur if you haven't tried them all? So I don't know that you
well,
can get that title.
Of churros. How about I have to have tried 60% of the churros to be a connoisseur?
Yeah. So you have to hurry up and come to Walt Disney World so that I can take you on a churro tour, and then you can give an opinion.
Okay, I will happily go on your gluten-free churro tour. I will 100% be bypassing every churro that they keep in one of those outdoor vending warmer carts because gross.
I agree. Although I wonder, do we get one of those churros just so we know that they're horrible? Like confirm their horribleness?
We can. I have, in fact, because to me Disney and churros are synonymous with joy, I have, every time I've gone to Disney World, gotten one of those churros to remind myself of their disappointment. So I will happily keep up that tradition for one of those churros, and we can feed it to Blake. Blake's not allergic to gluten, right?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
Yeah, so Blake can be our gluten tolerant judge.
So that's like your baseline churro, huh? The ones out of the carts at Walt Disney World, and everything either goes up or down from there.
Yeah, or I think that's actually the bottom of the barrel.
Okay. Well, hey, Chris, before we jump into this episode, did you hear about the two oceans when they came together? Do you know what they said to each other?
I've been waiting for a dad joke. Okay, the two oceans when they came together, what did they say to each other?
They didn't say anything. They just waved.
Oh. You know where I was going with it? I was going to say, like, I'm current on the news. Or something like that, like ocean currents.
I like that one. I like the way you're thinking on that one.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very nautical minded. It's one of my talents.
Well, let's jump into we got just some odd topics as we kind of finish out the year. Thank you so much for all. I want to just thank both of you guys right from the get-go. Thanks for being such a huge part of our show and helping me get the show out each and every week for our listeners. Thanks to all our listeners out there for coming back and listening to our show, supporting our show, interacting with us on Twitter and every place else. It's been a lot of fun. And a huge shout out for our Patreon members as well, who help bring this show each and every week. So it's just been it's as crazy as 2020 has been. There's been a lot of bright moments as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think I could speak for both of us and say that while it's nice to be thanked by you, you're really doing the heavy lifting on this one. You're the one who's editing these shows and getting them out each week. So thank you for creating a podcast that everyone likes to listen to.
Well,
right, and that we get to be a part of. So thank you.
Definitely, it's my pleasure. Let's jump into just one quick update, Christy. Anything new with the cruise cancellations and bookings and everything like that? We kind of touched on that in an earlier podcast this month, but as we go into 2021, anything new with that?
I don't know that there's anything new. I'm not sure actually which cancellations were in effect the last time we've discussed them, but Disney Cruise Line currently has cruises canceled through February 28th, 2021. Select sailings of 7 nights or longer into the summer have been canceled, although there is still some fall cruises into the Caribbean that are over 7 nights that are still in existence, haven't been moved or shortened at this time. We obviously have no idea what is going to happen or when ships are going to sail again. Some of the other lines like Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, they have canceled through March, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see what is going to happen with Disney in the coming weeks. If you have an FCC, so the Future Cruise Credit, so if you've already had a cancellation or you've canceled even before Disney canceled and you have cruise credit to be used, you can apply those to cruises, I believe, through that depart prior to the end of May of 2022. And I had the date in front of me prior to us recording, and I no longer have the date in front of me.
I think it's May 31st, but it's pretty much at the end of May. So I know that for our family, we're kind of hoping that gets extended into the summer of 2022 when those dates come out, because we've got some cruises we're probably going to move from 2021 into 2022. At least we're looking at it right now, so we'll find out. And Christy, we were kind of talking about this before the show. When can we anticipate possibly summer 2022 coming out?
Historically, it's been around February, the end of February. So it could be around that time again. Sometimes it's actually been the end of March. And so they seem to fluctuate year after year between those 2 months. So it could be the end of February.
And they did come out just recently. We will have a live show on Facebook when the summer 2022 dates come out. But they did come out recently and just add some Dream and Fantasy cruises in May. Was it April and May, I think, just recently. So there is April and May 2022 that they added that you can book through the Dream and the Fantasy. That's right?
Correct.
Okay.
Let's stay on that topic for 1 second. We'll throw this out there, a quick little aside. If somebody wants to support the show, one way they can do that is actually to utilize me as their travel agent, because the show earns a commission off of the commission we earn from being a travel agent. So as a note, it does not cost anybody any extra money to use a travel agent to book their vacation, or at least me as a travel agent to book your vacation. You would still be paying Disney Cruise Line. You just pay through me. Like, I'm the one that submits the payment. So they're still the one that shows up on the credit card bill so that you know it's legit booking, and you still get your confirmations. You still can look at your cruise, the app. You could be like Steve and make all of your Palo reservation right on the app yourself. So it doesn't affect any of that. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me and I can answer them for you. But that is one way to support the show, because we know people ask, how can we support the show? Well, that's one way. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and the podcast will actually create a little bit of income from it.
And we're super excited to partner with your travel agency. We're going to get a little bit more information. We've been kind of remiss on getting that out this year, but there's going to be we'll add that information as we move into episodes in 2021. And Christy, if people want to book with you, how can they get a hold of you again?
Just reach out to me at Christy@packyourpixiedust.com. That's my email address, and it's in the show notes always. You can also reach me on social media, and I can get you more information. I believe my phone number is out there on social media as well for my business phone number.
And if you need somebody to cruise with you, Chris and I are always available to go with you.
Why are you always leaving me out of that? I can cruise too, Steve.
Because you're busy at home making all the reservations.
It's just not professional for the travel agent to cruise with
It is, though. We have groups, or we take people all the time.
Well, we still have our lifelong, and when I say lifelong, I mean whenever we started doing this, dream of having a DCL podcast cruise.
It will happen.
Needs to happen. Yeah.
First of all, cruising needs to occur. But then people would have to sell all their furniture or something to pay for it. So
were any of us DCL fans, mega fans, back when the Dream and Fantasy were launched, or did we all join this party later than that?
So I was aware when the Fantasy was launching and was sort of excited about it from afar, but wasn't aware enough to get on her right away.
I would love to, especially while the ships aren't sailing, I would love to have a guest on the show who sailed on one of the inaugural sailings of the Dream or the Fantasy and hear about what that was like.
Well, the Buckets and Boards guys were, so maybe we can get them back on and tell us about it.
Ooh, and I can be there this time.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Let's make that our 2021 goal.
Yeah,
And let's see who else is out there. So if you've also
If
cruised,
you were on inaugural sailing, contact us.
yes.
Yeah, reach out to Steve at DCLpodcast.com and we'll get you on the show. We'll talk about your sailing on the Dream of the Fantasy. And yeah, Matt and Gareth were on the inaugural sailing of the Fantasy. So they're super fun guys. We'll have to get them back and maybe talk about that. Well, talking about the Wish, Chris, you were up early Christmas Day, I know, just reveling in the Disney parks experience that was on TV as they revealed something pretty exciting. What did they reveal, Chris?
Yeah, so when I was at D23, they did this big reveal of the Hull statue for the Disney Wish, which, as a reminder, everybody, is Rapunzel using her hair to string up around the ship and hang off the back and paint it, which is cute. And actually really well themed because Rapunzel paints her own little tower. So why not paint the back of a Disney ship? That is happening on the Wish. We knew that. What we didn't know and has been kept top secret is more so what is the internal theming of the ship going to be like? Do we have a lobby statue? Things like that. And Christmas morning, they did a little cute animated video. It's maybe 30 seconds long, but it's a little animated video that flies through the lobby of the Disney Wish. And then where the statue should be, there's nothing. And then little magic swirls happen. And next thing you know, Cinderella is there. So we now know that the lobby statue is going to be Cinderella. It looks very different than all the other lobby statues.
It looks very shiny.
What am I saying? The animated video they made shows it being a golden statue. So instead of that dark sort of, what would we call the other statues?
Bronze.
Bronze?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of that sort of dark blackish brown bronze style statue that the other ships have, the Wish is getting a very bright gold, almost brassy Cinderella. So she looks beautiful. Cannot wait to see it in person. A couple other details that you can see from that little video is that the lobby does appear to have the same sort of grand staircase that wraps around on the Dream and the Fantasy. So yeah, it'll be super interesting to see what kind of theming do they have. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, or Christy, you're both experts, but the lobby statue does tell you a little bit about the ship, right? Because on the Wonder, Ariel inspires the chandelier, right? The lobby statue is Ariel, and there's that sort of red flower chandelier above her.
Correct.
Things like that. So what do we think? Do we think that Cinderella is going to have little mice running around the lobby, or that there's going to be...
I'm thinking there's not going to be mice.
Well, there's going to be 2 mice at least, right, Christy?
Well, yes. Bigger. Mickey and Minnie sized.
Yeah, or little animals flying around that dress Cinderella. Those sorts of things.
As far as Ariel's flower, that was actually a secondary chandelier that they brought in. So the original one was actually different. So when they redid at one of the, why can't I find the word for today? One of the dry docks, they redid the chandelier and made it Ariel's flower. But if you look at the Fantasy is Art Nouveau, and Minnie is kind of in that 20s sort of roaring 20s sort of outfit, and that kind of is the theming of the ship throughout. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Cinderella as far as, and I guess it was kind of, we should have known it, right? Because a dream is a wish your heart makes. So there you go. We should have known it was Cinderella all the time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch because what about the dream?
Well, that's true.
The dream could have been a wish your heart makes too.
That is true. Well, anyways, Christy, are you excited about Cinderella being the atrium statue?
I don't know that I would use the word excited.
What did you want then? What would you have been hoping for?
I'm not good at these games. I'm not good. I was telling Steve before the call that I could never be an Imagineer. I have no imagination. I don't know. I guess I am surprised at Cinderella. Steve keeps asking if Marvel's going to be next, and before.
Oh my gosh! I really hope not.
It can't be.
I totally agree with. I would be so disappointed if they ever did something with Star Wars or Marvel in the lobby. But that's
if you walk on that ship and there's just an Iron Man statue sitting in the lobby, I would be hard pass, Disney. Hard pass.
So Chris, what you know, obviously it's going to be Cinderella this one, but for the next ship, what would you want it to be? Or what thoughts do you have?
All right, here's the thing. I just watched Soul on Disney Plus, and I think that Disney is, over the past decade or two, is moving away from princess movies or movies about white princesses or, you know, sort of like monolithic style Disney characters, right? You have Moana, which is also, Moana is such a freaking good movie for the ocean.
Moana's
just
amazing.
Like any cruise ship, anything that has to do with the ocean. I literally have the Moana soundtrack playing in my head every time I walk onto a Disney ship because the line where the sky meets the sea is calling me. And
all
I
the
want to
time.
sail to there.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, fine, Cinderella, classic Disney princess. I get that. Cinderella has a castle in the Magic Kingdom. She's all over the place. But next, can we get like Moana or Tiana or a Princess of Color or something where we're showcasing the diversity of the characters that Disney has created? I would even be happy for a Pocahontas. I'm just saying, if the new ships are going to have princesses in their lobby, then let's
it not be a blonde white girl.
Let's pick some new princesses because, you know, it's nice to have Cinderella. I get that. But I'd love some other options. So that's where my head's at, Steve, is that if I walked into a ship and I saw Moana standing on the hull, like the way that she does, just like looking out towards the horizon, I would melt and I would like exclusively want to sail on that ship for the rest of my Disney life. So that's where my head's at.
So I'm gonna jump in there with you, Chris, because that was my take too. I would love to have seen Moana, just as you talked about her standing, like when she's on the front of the ship as they're kind of sailing forward. And I'm going to say, let's call it The Way. Maybe, I don't know. That's maybe not the best. That's maybe not the best name. But if it's not the next one, maybe the third ship could be called The Way or something like that. But I do love that Moana theme. And Christy, you had a point too. If you look at that, of course, it's an artist's rendition of the lobby. But what were you looking at, Christy?
So if you look at the bookcase behind Cinderella, you can see a whole bunch of Moana like sculptures. So like if you zoom in, there is potentially
Maui
Moana
with
her.
It's like her
Oar.
spear or oar, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the oar. That is the word I could not think of. And yes, then there's Maui with his hook. Hey Hey is on the left-hand side. You can see him in the second little cubby there. So,
yeah, and I think that might be Pua, the pig, like with its head to the side below.
Oh, yeah, at the bottom. I was trying to figure out who that was. So it's like, so Moana is back in there. So are they doing like a themed
restaurant?
Where they're going to have
movie or show? Restaurant or show? One of the two?
I like it.
Oh my gosh. I would literally melt. I would just throw my money into.
Take all my money.
I'd take out my retirement and just spend it all.
We don't need to retire, right?
Advocating for responsibility.
Are we going to just try to go on a 3-night cruise?
I mean,
like us
just to see
together.
Yeah, just
I think we have
to,
right?
See it. Yeah, I feel like we've made way too much of our life about Disney Cruise Line to not like go on the Wish during the first year. But I literally can't wait. I do, and I'm not. I know that I might sound being negative about Cinderella. I get it. She's a really popular princess, and the statue's really pretty. But, Christy, that picture you sent of the pictures behind, that gives me hope that they're probably going to, like, incorporate more stories like that. The reason I brought up Soul, which we can talk about right now, is that Soul is the first Pixar movie with the lead being a black character. And it's about jazz music, and it's about a very specific sort of like style and culture of New York City. And it's really like, it almost feels like a very adult Pixar movie. I don't know that kids would probably get everything out of it that I did, but it's an amazing movie with a really good representation. And I like to see Disney moving in that direction. Also, Pixar's new movie next year, Luca, I can't remember where it's set. I think it's set in Colombia, maybe. But like, yes, let's tell these stories. I'm ready for these stories. I've been ready. And I think so I'm going to be like slightly mushy about this because Seth and I brought home a 3-week-old baby just before Christmas. And when I think about, and also she's a baby of color, She's Latinx. She's so tiny. But when I think about the world I want her to grow up in and the stories I want her to see, and we're taking this child, if she stays with us on cruises, I want her to be able to see characters that look like her. And I want her to be able to play with, Moana on the ship and have all of that type of experience. So I hope that, Disney Cruise Line says, we're going to put stories that are as diverse as possible front and center so that the kids who are using these ships as their playground feel like they're learning and growing and being more empathetic. So that's what I'm really excited about with The Wish, is they have an opportunity to do something really cool.
I agree totally, and I'm super excited if it's some type. Well, I think it's going to be. I can't imagine that they put that in the background because they love doing those little Easter eggs, don't they, Christy?
They do.
Just to kind of finish up with The Wish here, then this isn't really saying much, but I did get an email from my friend from Germany who works for Marwerft, and his comment was, she's going to be a great ship, surprising the whole industry. So I'm super curious to hear and see what they come out with. And my guess is just watch for more of this. They're not, at some point they'll have a pretty big reveal, but I think between now and then there's going to be a lot of little tidbits like the Cinderella reveal, where they just give us little tidbits here and there just to keep the excitement before they start sailing again. So,
and let me just, before we move on, the lawyer in me just needs to throw on the quick little note that always says that these are renderings and that things can change and that they don't have to be an accurate representation. So, we want Moana to be back there behind Cinderella, but it may or may not happen. So just keep that in mind.
We may be eating at the Iron Man Cafe, right, Chris?
Oh, good God.
All right. Now, I know there's a lot of Marvel fans out there, and I love Marvel too. So.
I do too. Are you kidding? I love Marvel and Star Wars, but do not make that.
Okay. Before we kind of but kind of finish up with some topics, Christy and I had a chance to meet this week. Matter of fact, just 2 days ago at Wilderness Lodge, and we were super sad.
Cute.
We were super sad that you weren't there, Chris, but we have a little snippet that we're going to throw in here where we actually got to sit up next to this really super cool fireplace that's kind of hidden in Wilderness Lodge and have a little bit of a chat. So without any further ado, let's jump into that. Well, hello, DCL podcast fans. We are here live at the Wilderness Lodge, and I would like to really introduce one of our amazing co-hosts, Christy Pudding. Christy, we are hanging out at the Wilderness Lodge tonight, and it's like right before New Year's, isn't it?
It is. And can I just say, we're sitting in front of this fire. We're on the third or something floor, and we're socially distant, by the way, for people who care. I care. And it is the coolest night. It's just so fun to hang out with you again, Steve.
Yeah, we met 2017. It's coming up on almost 4 years ago, wasn't it?
4 years ago.
Yeah, when we ended up hanging out up at Top of the World.
Yep, which was closed now.
Super cool. That is, if you have never never gotten up there, if you ever get a chance to do it, do it. It's an amazing place to watch the fireworks when everything is normal, and it will be normal again. But it's an amazing place to watch the fireworks, isn't it?
Yes, and from your mouth to God's ear, can we have everything be normal again?
But, kind of looking around, Wilderness Lodge, this is an amazing lobby. I will freely admit that I love the Grand Californian and the lobby and the tree in it, but I think a second best and maybe a first best is the Wilderness Lodge, isn't it, Christy?
It is. And the Grand Californian's great, but I feel like it's more enclosed. Like, it feels narrower, but the Wilderness Lodge feels grander to me and more open. And it's my favorite.
It is.
Especially at Christmas.
The tree is probably twice, maybe not twice, but at least a third as big as the Grand Californian, just because the lobby is just amazing. So you've stayed in the Wilderness Lodge, you stayed at the concierge level. Where's that at? That's even farther up.
It's on the top floor, the 7th floor.
Yeah, so if you ever get a chance to be here, if you're not part of Copper Creek, Copper Creek really, because you guys are Copper Creek owners at DVC, right, Christy?
We are.
Yes, as we are too. We have a very small contract at Copper Creek, but there is a third level which you can walk up these stairs, and there's just an amazing little atrium area where we're sitting here in front of this beautiful fire, and you can look out over the entire Wilderness Lodge lobby, and you've got the tree in the background, you've got the music going, and it is just a magical Christmas experience.
It really is. It is so idyllic. In fact, I need to come here sometime. If you can get past the guard at the gate. Oh my God. So Steve was denied in his Uber. He wasn't even trying to park. He was in a Lyft or something, for crying out loud. Could not get in. So he had to take the scenic route to get here. And so because of that, I bought a cookie on the mobile order. I mobile ordered a cookie. So I got to get in to pick up my cookie. So if you can, right now I think because of the holidays, they are really locking down these parking lots, but something to keep in mind, order a cookie if you want to get to a resort.
Hot pro tip right there, right?
Absolutely.
But as a Copper Creek owner, I appreciate keeping the riffraff like myself out of Wilderness Lodge while you and your family are trying to enjoy it. But we just wanted to add, it's been a fun 4 years for our podcast. Christy and I have enjoyed each and every one of you coming back each and every week listening to our podcast and being part of it too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And I think 2021 is just around the corner, isn't it?
Days away. And I think that
maybe
we'll sail again.
Maybe we'll sail again. It was funny because I was kind of joking around because I actually checked in for a cruise in April and I booked Palo, which I don't really have a huge belief that the cruise is going to go, but it was actually fun to be back to a little bit of normalcy, if there is a little bit of normalcy, to say that, hey, I've got a Palo reservation.
You posted somewhere about Palo, but did you get brunch or dinner?
We got dinner.
Why won't you try brunch?
It is a huge, I know.
Brunch is the best.
I know, brunch is the best because, brunch feels to me like you're, in the middle of the day, there's, all this stuff going on.
There's nothing to do. Go to brunch.
There's nothing to do.
You can watch the show on Funnel Vision a different day. Go to brunch. I'm
at my animation class. The kids are at the pool.
You can YouTube the animation class. You don't even hang out with the kids at the pool. Go to brunch.
You've got a really good point about that because, every time I go to the animation class, as I said this over and over, that Mickey looks like a bear.
I was going to say, you can't even draw. And if you're going to do a poor job drawing in the first place, YouTube it and go to brunch.
All right, so we will probably book brunch for the fourth day on our the third day on our 4-day cruise. But like I said, I'm not really counting on it going. But I think that 2021 is going to be an upbeat year. I think a lot of things are going to change. The world's going to come back to whatever the new normal is going to be. And I think we're all going to be back to cruising again. What do you think, Christy?
I hope so.
I really hope so, too. So what is your cruise? What is the next one for you and your family? Is it that double dip in the summer? What are you guys doing?
I have nothing for 2021, but...
What?
I have my next cruise is March of 2022.
Well, you know what the good thing is about that is that if you stay in Florida for some reason, maybe you do, I don't know. But if you stay in Florida for whatever reason, maybe you can get that Florida residency rate and you can jump on that last minute 3-day cruise out to Castaway Cay, the Bahamas and whatnot.
One can hope. One can dream.
One can hope. One can dream. Well, as we kind of sign out tonight, thanks for listening to our podcast. Thanks for being part of the crew of 2020 and before. And we look forward to talking to each and every one of you as we move into 2021. As we sign off tonight, Christy, anything you want to say about the Wilderness Lodge or Christmas or New Year's?
Honestly, this is the best place. People have to come here. Come here and just break in, apparently. Buy a cookie. Sit in the lobby. It's pretty special. Don't let the riffraff in. Don't let the crazies in. So, all the best. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you in 2021. Bye, everyone. Well, Christy, that was super cool to be able to hang out with you there. I really enjoyed the time there. And Wilderness Lodge reminds me a lot like the Disney cruise ships, where there's just all these little hidden areas that as you kind of spend time on it and make your way around it, you can find all these little cool areas to hang out and just enjoy time with other people. Yeah, there's these great little comfy little nooks. So it's such a wonderful place. And we were able to be very socially distant, which was fantastic. And I needed that. It was nice to actually have a talk with somebody besides somebody in your family, right? Oh my God, yes. To be able to be social with somebody besides the two other people I live with all the time. And Chris, we totally look forward to all three of us getting together. And hopefully it will be before the Wish sales, that's for sure. So oh, it has to be. All right, well, let's jump into some kind of highlights. I thought we touch on each one of our highlights of 2020. As crazy as 2020 has been, and I do not want to
what's the right word I'm looking for, Chris? I don't want to downplay.
Catastrophize.
Yeah, well, I don't want to catastrophize it, but I also don't want to downplay how hard it's been on a lot of people who may have lost loved ones or jobs or whatnot during this pandemic. But in all bad things, sometimes there are good things as well. So I thought maybe we could, as we kind of close out, touch on some of the highlights that we had for 2020. And who wants to go first?
Let's not all jump out at once.
Okay. Chris, you want to jump in first and talk about some of your highlights? And you and Christy actually got to cruise, so why don't you touch on that a little bit too?
Yeah, okay. So 2020 started...
2020 is like 5 years long, right?
Yeah, exactly. 2020 started for us as a really like hopeful, fun year because in February we had a cruise. In January, I ran my first half marathon at Disney World. And Seth and I did a whole like Disney World vacation. We got to see everything and it was really, really, really fun. And then COVID happened, right? And we had 2 additional cruises. Listeners might know that I was going to take Seth on a surprise cruise and none of it had worked out. Also, it made it so that I missed my Grand Slam. I still have never been on the Wonder. And so all of that being said, there was a lot of Disney Cruise Line disappointment for us this year, but we did get to sail and we got to sail in the Fantasy and it was a beautiful week and an amazing week. So that's certainly a highlight. Same with Run Disney and Disney World. That was a super big highlight for me. And then, because it's not all about Disney, this year a big highlight is that we didn't get to go on vacation. We didn't get to do all these things. So we stayed home a lot more, which meant that we were able to make some big life change decisions, right? We went through, weeks and weeks and weeks of classes to prepare to be foster parents. And then we welcomed home our first foster baby who was 7 months old. And we took care of her and loved her until she found a new placement and was reunified with her family. And then, right over Christmas, we got a little tiny baby that is, so small. And the truth is, I don't know if the pandemic hadn't happened, if 2020 would have been the year that we got all of our things together to start a family. So I would say that for me, as weird as it is, this year allowed us to achieve or pursue different dreams. And listen, I've been doing Disney my entire life. I grew up so close to Anaheim. I've been to Disney a lot. I have seen everything there is to see at Disney, except for the international parks, still on my bucket list. But I've seen everything there is to see at Disney through my eyes, and I am really excited to see it all over again through the eyes of a child. I think the next 18 years or however many years we have with a child are going to be amazing because all these things that I love and care about, I now get to share with someone else, little tiny eyes. So that would be my 2020 highlight.
I think that's so well said, and it is amazing.
He's not allowed to go first from now on.
That's part of the joy of going and traveling and spending time at Disney, is Christy, seeing it through the eyes of your children.
It really is. It's a whole different magical little moment.
So why don't we touch on some of your highlights, Christy?
So, like Chris said, it was a year to let some of your dreams come true, and we really are working towards a dream of ours. And even notwithstanding that, we purged a whole bunch of stuff from our house and did like these to-do lists that people put off and never actually do because they're too busy doing other things. And that was us too. We were too busy doing other things. And then we got some stuff done, which was great. And we are moving forward to make some of our big dreams come true. And we've just spent a month at Disney in Orlando, which is just phenomenal and something so cool. So it's like this year has been stressful and hard, and I completely empathize with all of those people that have lost a loved one, and I wish a lot of things were done differently across our country. And I don't want to say but, because there really isn't a but. I just will end that with a period. Next sentence is, there were some good things that are coming out of it for my family. And so for that, I am appreciative. So I have a little kid. Steve, you have boys that are getting older but are still young. When do parents ever, which is a flip side, right? It's good and bad. But when do you ever get this much time with your kids? Never. And we got to spend all of this time together, sometimes too much time together, which is probably why also I was so excited to see you the other night. But we got to have all of this time together, and that is something that can't be taken away from us and couldn't have been planned and special in and of itself. So crazy year that felt like 4 years. You know, there are some good things to have come out of it. And it's insane to have thought that in February I was on a cruise. We were on the Celebrity Edge, and honestly that did not feel like in this calendar year at all. But she's a great ship, and I would recommend her to others, and I have. I would sail her again for sure, but I'm also very much looking forward to sailing Disney Cruise Line in the future.
Yeah, just to touch on what you're talking about with kids and spending time with them. Both our boys are in online school. Well, our whole school district's online. And Andrew's doing a cooking class this quarter. And it's been super fun to have him home and watch him cook, because he's cooking in our kitchen. So he's got his computer down there, and the video's going for his teacher to see and everything like that. But just like you said, sometimes it's a little bit too much time. We've needed to get our space as well. But if you look at the bright side of 2020, it has been amazing to be able to spend time with a little bit more time with our kids than we normally would have been able to in the past.
Absolutely.
So I guess kind of looking at it from my point of view, I really enjoyed getting to see Chris and everybody that we got to meet down at Marathon Weekend as well. I did not get to cruise. We did not cruise. Our last cruise was in October when we did 2019, when we did the Halloween on the High Seas cruise. So our family's definitely looking forward to getting back on one of the ships just like you guys. But I think, and I hate to compare these two because I am not picking on Walt Disney World at all, but I kind of feel like this year we live our lives sometimes like a fast pass situation where we're always, planning the future, and we've got all these things planned out, 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's fun just to be at Disneyland where you don't have to plan things out, 60 months, 60 60 weeks?
60 months.
60 months, 60 weeks.
You don't have to do it 6 months either.
Yeah, where you have to plan where you're going to eat, 6 months prior. Sometimes it's fun to be at Disneyland where you can just pivot and go, you know what, let's go ride Pirates or whatever else. And so that's what we did this summer. And I think that trip for us to Yellowstone and doing a road trip with the kids for the first time and doing something that it was not even on our sights when 2020 began. That was just such a fun trip for us. Very memorable. We're sorry you missed the Greek cruise, but we know that at some point we'll eventually be back in Europe and hopefully back on a Disney cruise ship as well. So I think that, seeing you guys at Walt Disney or during Run Disney was amazing. And that trip last June to the parks was just amazing as well. I definitely feel like you do, Christy. I feel for everybody who this year's a bit affected them negatively, but I also think that there's a lot of highlights for our family that we can kind of hold dear as we move forward. So what are you guys looking forward to in 2021? What's one thing that you guys are looking forward to in 2021?
The vaccine. I want 3 of them. I'll take the Pfizer, the Moderna, and whatever the third one is that isn't out yet. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for this to go away, right? And for us to move in the direction of, healing from this really traumatic global trauma. I mean, when I think about how many lives have been lost right now to COVID, it's devastating. And, knowing folks who have died, knowing the things that have been going through. Listen, I think that all of us are maybe setting ourselves up for failure to be like, as soon as 2020 is over, everything will be fine, and blaming the year 2020 on the issue, because I do not think at midnight on New Year's Eve that we're going to all wake up the next day and be like, oh, what a weird dream we had. Like now it's all getting back to normal. I think that 2021 is going to be a hard year too, but I think it's going to be a year of healing is my prediction, that we're going to start healing from the challenges because we have hope, because we have something to look forward to. We have something that looks like a light at the end of the tunnel. So for me, 2021 is that. It's going to be the year where maybe we finally get back into Disneyland. Maybe we finally get to go on another cruise ship. Maybe we finally get to go, to Disney World, unless you're really close to Disney World. where it's like we finally get to maybe experience some of those things that we've been missing because we're finally healing from this pandemic. So to me, that's the theme of 2021.
Christy, anything to add to that? It's always tough, like you said, to have Chris go first because then we have to try and...
Stop.
I don't overall know. I am looking forward to being able to have dinner with friends again, to be honest. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So I was listening to a historian last night. They were talking about kind of the pandemic as I was driving home from the airport. And one of the things that they were talking about the pandemic back in 1918, 1919. And they were talking about how like they had pictures of people wearing masks. They were very different. And what was it like? How did society change? And that the pandemic from the 1918s and 1919s turned into the roaring 20s. And the big theme of the 20s, I mean, there's a lot of different angles to it, was people wanting to get together. And I think you just hit on that right there, Christy, as far as being able to have dinner with friends, to go down to Run Disney and meet up with people either during the race and after the race, to potentially, meet up with friends on the cruise ships, to just be part of other people's lives and how important that really is to us in our society. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see if it kind of follows along those lines. And I think it won't happen fast, but I think that that's going to be a huge part of 2021 and on into 2022, is just being able to get back together with friends and family. So Did I kill the conversation on that one?
No, that's well said. That's well said.
I just kind of
I can't wait to gather.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
It just kind of resonated with me when he was talking about that. So, well, as we kind of finish up, I got a couple just show updates, nothing major or anything like that, but anything else you guys want to finish up on?
So it's not the last show?
No.
So this isn't the last show of the DCL podcast?
It is definitely not the last show, but anything you guys want to touch on first before we jump into that and finish up for today?
No.
No, we'll throw it to you.
All right. Well, yeah, the DCL podcast will return in 2021. It's going to continue. And Christy and Chris, we've signed them on for another year. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to pay them, but I'm going to have to scrounge somewhere and find something to get them to to keep coming back. It will definitely be a bright 2021, right, Chris?
Yes. Every year is bright with me.
Let's see. I'm working on that pun. Well, kind of going forward, we're going to try and make sure that the show drops every Tuesday or Wednesday. I was trying for Tuesday, but with my schedule kind of changing sometimes. So try and look for it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. One of the things that we're going to do, and I really liked, both of you guys brought this up. Christy said we need to kind of get back to some basic shows, and I really think that we do. And Chris, you kind of termed it in the sense of return to cruising. And I think all three of us are pretty hopeful, and we think that cruising will start in 2021. So kind of watch for some shows that way, kind of shows that can help you and your family return to cruising. And we may kind of revisit some of our DCL 101 shows that we've done in the past and update them as well. So watch for shows like that. Also, if there's anybody out there between now and when cruising starts, if you and your family take an alternate vacation, something similar like Carol and her family that went down to the Keys and want to come on and talk about it, we'd like to keep pushing those out to everybody so that they can come. Obviously, cruising doesn't always work for people, but a lot of you guys have some really interesting things that you do outside of the cruising world and outside of the Disney world as well. So if there's something you want to come on and talk about, we would love to have you on to do that as well. We'll keep reaching out for some interviews. We've definitely got some interviews planned going into 2021 with some interesting guests. And then finally, we will always touch on Run Disney and Adventures by Disney. And maybe we'll have to cover the Walt Disney World virtual marathon weekend. Chris, I don't know. Are you running anything for that?
Yeah, just the 10K.
So maybe, I don't know if we'll do a podcast about it, but we can definitely follow along on social media. We'll throw some pictures up there. And if anybody's running either the 10K, the half, or my brother had a friend that actually did Dopey and they're already done with it, which I think is, boy, that takes a lot of, you got to really be determined to do that at home.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, at home? Oh my gosh.
The only thing worse than doing it like in my neighborhood would be on a treadmill. I literally could not do that on a treadmill.
A marathon on a treadmill, no way.
That would be the worst.
All right, well, as we close it out, I forgot, I have to put one honorable mention. When we're thinking about, who would really be representative in the next lobby of a Disney ship, once again, my poor guy keeps getting overlooked year in and year out, but the Hatbox Ghost would make, I think, just an amazing,
God, no.
an amazing... statue for one of the Disney ships. And you know when you go through the Haunted Mansion and you get to that room where there's staircases just going everywhere, the lobby could just be like that. We'd have stairs going. You go up one stairs and it would just end, and you go up another stairs, and you just wouldn't know where you would end up at. And I think that, maybe someday they will come out with a ship like that, but the poor guy keeps getting overlooked.
I mean, yeah, a haunted, an entire haunted themed ship.
I would never
sails to
cruise
the
that.
Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
I can see that in Disney's future.
The Grim Grinning Ghost, instead of cabanas, is the Grim Grinning Ghost Cafe or something like that up there. Okay, well, as we get out of here today, thank you so much for all our listeners. Thank you for our Patreon supporters. Thank you, Christy and Chris, for being a huge part of the show. It's been a fun 2020, and I look forward to 2021.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.